Hello and welcome back to the Summoner Studios YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how you can quickly put together realistic environments within Maya. So you've probably seen all kinds of videos on social media of people going and having these like insane environments of all sorts of plants and rocks and trees and grass, and they're actually waving in the wind and all of that kind of crazy stuff. Well, it's actually simpler to put together in Maya than you might think. And I know environments can be very daunting for a lot of people. They are for me. I have not made that many, but recently I've been trying to make a lot more just because it's quite fun to do. It's like creating your own little world. This is one that I made recently for a kind of like terrarium keycap video that we posted just the other day. And I thought it'd be a good example of the tools that I used and how you can use those as well, and how they're actually really easy. Even though it looks like there's a lot of detail here, you can build this up very quickly, and that's not something you might have realized. So whether you've got your own project for like personal studies, or if you're a student and you need to make something quickly, these tools are amazing for doing that really fast. So let's get right into it. So as you can see from this little environment I've got here, it's kind of like a train running through some sort of like rocky, hilly mountain pass or something like that. We've got a bunch of grass, a bunch of these plants over on the other side, and some rocky terrain and these tracks and all these rocks on the tracks. So this looks like a lot of detail. It looks like it might have taken quite a while to place all of this. If I go ahead and quickly render this. Okay, so that took only 24 seconds to render one frame, and I am using GPU rendering, so that has increased the speed quite a lot, and I've got a reasonably powerful GPU. But even with that said, there's a lot of individual plants in here, like well over thousands of objects in here, and there's a way to speed that up so that Maya doesn't crash and die. Because if these weren't instances, which is what they are, if this was all actual geometry, then this would break very quickly. So let's get right into how you can do this yourself. So all of these assets that I'm using today are either freely available on Quixel Fab, which is a website where you can get a bunch of individual assets. Some of them are paid, they're relatively cheap. Quite a lot of them are free. You can also get a bunch of this stuff on Polyhaven. You can also make it yourself, but for the sake of today's video, I'm just using pre-made assets to show you how you can quickly throw environments together. So what I've done is just create some basic terrain. So first things first, whenever you're making an environment, like when you're doing a hard surface model, is you want to start in stages. You want to start with the biggest things first and keep them simple. So in this case, this is quite specific. It's almost like it's on a little pedestal, but you could make a larger environment or a smaller one. It really depends on what you're trying to create, but I start with the biggest thing first, just because that's going to define your area. It's going to define where things are going to go. You know how much space you have to play with. So you start with the largest thing first, and in that case, that's the terrain. And you can see it's quite a simple mesh. I've gone ahead and just smooth previewed it, but it's just kind of been pushed and pulled around with the soft selection a little bit, just to give it more of a natural shape. And then what I've done next is I've just taken these rocks. You can see they're quite simple triangulated meshes, but they have some decent materials attached. And like I mentioned, if you get any rocks online, they're always going to come with materials, typically, whether those are from Polyhaven, from Quixel, Fab, or any other site like Blender Kit as well. These kind of techniques are also applicable to Blender. I think whenever you're modeling an environment, you always want to start with the larger shapes first. And then even before that, I think it's good to actually concept up something, do a quick drawing, or at least collect a bunch of reference so you know what kind of composition you're going to make, rather than just throwing things together. And that's something I've talked about in most of my videos. So the same goes for individual models like vehicles to large-scale environments like this as well. Or not so large scale, but you get the idea. So the really cool thing comes in when you actually want to start placing grass. So let's say you've done the larger steps, you've got your assets in here like this train, the rocks, and the terrain. But now we want to start adding more detail like grass and other plants. Well, if I go into my group here where I've already got my grass models, you want to make sure these are positioned essentially exactly on the grid. Right now they're not, so I'm just going to reposition those a little bit. You want to make sure these are sitting on the grid and they're already scaled correctly to how large you'd like. And also make sure your materials are also set up. So I've already got materials connected to all of these, and it's a good idea to have a few different variants, because if you think we only had one variant of grass, once you start placing, hundreds or thousands or even more of these around, you're going to notice pretty quick that you only have one type of grass, and it's going to look very boring. So even though these are relatively simple models, we do have a good number of variants here. We've got 6 variants, which is going to add a nice amount of variety, and things aren't going to look too simple. So in order to use these as detail for our environment, I'm going to select all of them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the Mesh tab, and I'm going to change our workspace to FX. And that will become important later, and I'll show you why in a second. We're going to click on this button. That's going to create a mesh network. Now, if you're unfamiliar with mesh in Maya, it's quite an old tool. It's been around for a while, but as you can see here, it's duplicated 6 of our first grass variant. Essentially, mesh allows you, through various different nodes that you can see in this list here on the right in the attribute editor, to use models as points to duplicate around your world and models in various different ways, shapes, and forms. It's perfect for doing environments because it means you can very, very quickly take details like grass or trees and spread those around really, really, really fast without having to do it manually yourself. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So right now, like I said, we only have 6 variants of the same variant 1, and that is no good. We want that randomness. We don't want that repetition, like we said. So I'm going to select the mesh network. You can see that in your outliner. For me, it's called Mesh 4 because I've already got a few, but for you, it'll just be called Mesh 1. You can go ahead and rename those as well if I wanted to call that Grass Mesh or something like that. I'm going to add an ID node underneath the main Mesh node here. And what this allows us to do is, you can see once I've added it, it's automatically adjusted the ID count to 6 because we have 6 individual bits of grass. It tells Mesh that we're going to need 6 different variants of grass, and it tells it to look at those 6 different variants that we have plugged in already. Next, we can change the ID type. By default, it's set to linear, and all that means is it goes down the list. So we've got grass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're getting smaller, as you can see. If you change that to random, that now randomizes. So if we had 100 of these, it's going to randomly pick from the 6 that we have, rather than just doing it linearly. So that's another way you can add even more randomness to this. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can distribute this grass around on our mesh. We could come to the mesh distribute node, and by default that's just set to linear. If I were to increase the number of points, you can see here it just starts adding more and more grass, but it's just adding it in that line. Now we've got 62 bits. We can increase it all the way up to 100, all the way down to 0. But that's just sticking in that one line that we have by default. We could change the distribution type to mesh, and then if we take our ground mesh that we created earlier, this guy, we find it in the outliner, middle mouse drag it over to the input mesh. You can see now that's connected all of our grass onto that mesh. And then we could go ahead and increase the number of points, and that's okay, but you can see it's kind of just going all over the place. It's going on the underside. It's not really going exactly where we want it. And if we wanted to have enough grass to cover this whole thing, you know, if I increase that to 1,000, you can see a majority of it ends up on the underside. That's not very helpful. So this is actually maybe not the best way to do this. It is a way you can do it, but in my opinion, it's not the best way to use mesh. The best way to use it is if you come back to the main mesh node here, just mesh 4, and then instead we add a placer node. That is this little brush one here, okay? Now what this allows us to do is literally paint this grass onto any model that we have in our scene. If I go to add, okay, and then if I just start drawing over our mesh, you can see it's now drawing in a line just like a paintbrush. So it's, you know, I'm literally just painting this grass all over the model. It doesn't just work on this surface as well. It updates dynamically depending on where you're painting. You can see I start painting on the rock. I could even start adding grass on the train if I wanted to. So this is a much more controlled way where you can actually art direct this. You can say, okay, I want grass in this specific area. But the only issue is right now, it's not giving us that randomness that we have already. And that's because we need to adjust the ID mode. So right now it's fixed and it's only using grass 0, which is the first one. We want to make that random, and we're going to change the random ID from 0 to 6. Now if I go ahead and start painting again, you see we're getting more randomness. We're getting all of the grass nodes that we have, and that already looks so much better. Okay, what if we want to paint in large clumps? Well, we can turn on scatter. Okay, I can increase the brush density maybe up to something like 3, and then maybe increase the brush radius up to like 4, so that's much, much bigger. Now if I start painting, you can see that it actually increases a lot, and we can really very, very quickly decide where we want this grass to be. One thing you'll notice though as you do this is that things will start to slow down quite a lot. You can already see my cursor is starting to lag a fair bit. Well, that's because this is all actual geometry, okay? And imagine you're adding hundreds of bits of geometry. Even if it's quite low poly, eventually Maya is going to start to slow down. So the way to fix this is if you select your main mesh network, make sure you're in the FX tab like we switched earlier. come up to Mesh, go to Utilities, and then click Switch Mesh Geometry Type. That's now going to change that all to instances. So if you're not aware of what an instance is, it's essentially just a copy of your model for all intents and purposes. It looks the same as just copying the geometry. But under the hood in Maya, they're actually all kind of like artificial copies, okay? They're all essentially just an artificial duplicate of the original, meaning they don't take up anywhere near as much memory. So now, if I wanted to come back to Mesh and then start painting again with our placer node, you can see we can add things much more easily. And Maya is not slowing down at all. I could literally just go wild and just start like placing these everywhere. Maybe we'll have a bunch over here. We'll put a bunch on this side. Maybe I want some on this rock up here in the corner. And you can see we can very, very quickly do that. And it's not slowing down Maya at all because these are all instances. Okay, and then because our textures are already connected, if I go ahead and render this, you can see it already has color. And you could even, if you have a powerful enough computer, paint while you're rendering. It's not something I would fully recommend doing here because you can see even with my GPU, I've got a 5080 in here, and it takes a while to update. But you could do that as well if you wanted to. So the mesh tool is really, really powerful if you need to create environments very, very quickly with lots of detail and lots of individual assets like grass and trees and so on. It has its limitations. It's quite old at this point, and this is just a few nodes to get you started. But this will speed up your workflow so much. You know, could you imagine having to place all this grass by yourself? It's just not. It's not worth doing. You're going to be there forever. It's not going to look anywhere near as good as doing it this way and randomly. We can add even more randomness on top of that by adding a random node. If I go and then click on Add Random Node, you can see we have a bunch of different sliders here for values that already be familiar with, like position, rotation, and scale. We can add a bunch of random rotation to this, even random scale, okay, to add even more randomness to this. And this randomness will also apply to the placer node. If I wanted to go ahead and add more grass to things, it's going to take that random node into account. Another, and in my opinion, the cherry on top of all of this is once you've placed all of your grass, if I now come back to our main mesh node, if I can find it here, that's the one downside. Things get quite busy and you can lose things really quick. If I add a signal node, and that doesn't really sound like it does a whole lot on just the name alone. If I decrease the rotation or the position all the way down to 0 and all those, because we don't want any of that, and I increase the rotation a little bit just in X and Z, not in Y, and now if I click play, you can see we're getting some basic wind animation. So not only can you paint all of it onto your models using this tool and its other little micro mini tools within it, you can also add wind effects to this. So you don't just have a static environment with a bunch of grass that's not moving. We can even go ahead and adjust this. So by default, the noise scale is set to 1. We could reduce this to 0.5 to have a much slower, gentler type wind. We could even increase it up to 3 to have this really erratic kind of animation, okay? And you can also keyframe all of this if you want this to change dynamically on the fly. And you can see while this is playing, my Maya viewport is slowing down a little bit, but not really that crazy. And we've already added a bunch of nodes. You know, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of individual bits of grass in here already. And it's really not taking that long to render. It's really not taking that long to move around the scene. So you know, you see this kind of stuff made in Blender quite a lot, and Blender is an amazing tool, but you can do this stuff in Maya as well if you need to. The mesh networks are very, very powerful for all kinds of stuff, and I would definitely encourage you to play around with those to make your own environments. I'll include links to the websites I used for all of these assets. All of these come from Quixel Fab. Some of them are paid, but again, there's a lot of free ones as well. You can get grass in there for free. You can get free rocks as well. This also is not sponsored at all, by the way. As much as I would love to work with those guys, this is not sponsored. It's just a nice website to use if you need some quick assets for whatever project you're working on. So I hope this video has been helpful. A little bit different. I haven't really done a whole lot of environments content, but I was dabbling around with this recently and I thought it would just be really cool to show you guys how all of this works. If you do have any questions or if you'd like to see more of this tool, please do let me know in the comments. I try to answer all of the questions. I might not always get around to them straight away, but I will respond. And if you have any requests as well, please do let me know about those. I've made a lot of videos recently about hard surface modeling and modeling complex objects, but I think modeling environments is also equally challenging. A lot of students don't really know how to tackle this kind of thing. You know, you look at a completed environment, you think, goodness, how did they, you know, place all this grass? How did they know to put this rock here? How did they do that? How did they set all this up so quickly? You know, they're thinking in terms of, oh, I'm going to have to just use these simple tools that I already know. Well, actually, no, there's so many different automated tools that you can use to randomize this and create it so quickly built into Maya, and it's been there for a long time. I'm still discovering this stuff every day. I'm still learning about how to use all of this. So it's okay if you don't know how to use it now, but if you need to use Maya, if you want to use Maya, and you like that software, then I would definitely encourage you to use these tools if you're modeling environments for whatever you're doing. And it doesn't even have to be in your environment. I've used this for like vehicle projects as well, or for characters, just to quickly place things on them. It's really, really powerful and can do so many different things. So try it out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.